Welcome to All Sorts Podcast, your personal gateway to just a universe brimming with captivating ideas.
It really is.
Think of us as your explorers, really. We venture out, find fascinating knowledge, and bring back the best bits tailored just for you, our listeners.
And we've built up quite the archive, haven't we?
We have loads of past explorations ready to spark your curiosity. And, to really get the full picture, the visuals on YouTube definitely help. So subscribe to All Sorts Podcast there.
Absolutely. The visuals add another layer.
And if you find value, please do like and share. It really helps us reach more curious minds.
It does. And we're also on X, Instagram, and Threads for those daily snippets and community connections.
Exactly. We're just thrilled you're joining us on this ongoing quest for understanding.
Me too.
So today we're diving into something really relevant, the power of delayed gratification. You've shared some fascinating material.
Yeah, a real mix. Foundational studies, critiques, real-world takes. It's a rich topic.
It really is.
Yeah.
And our mission today, to unpack all that, pull out the key insights on why resisting immediate wants can be so powerful, and make it clear and engaging for you, our listener.
Right. Without getting totally bogged down in academic jargon, we want you to grasp the science, the consequences, and maybe most importantly, how it connects to your own life and goals.
Okay, perfect. Let's jump in. Where else to start? But with Walter Mischel's Stanford marshmallow experiment from the 70s. It paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it?
It really does. That image of a kid staring down a marshmallow.
Yeah.
It's iconic. The setup was, deceptively simple.
Deceptively simple. I like that.
Yeah, you give a young child one marshmallow. You tell them you're leaving for a bit, maybe 15 minutes. If they wait, if they don't eat that first one, they get a second one when you return.
The ultimate test of willpower for a little kid.
Exactly. And what Mischel and his team found in those early follow-ups, like in the late 80s, early 90s, it was pretty thought-provoking.
What did they see?
Well, they found a correlation between the kids who waited longer for that second marshmallow and better outcomes later on. Things like academic and social skills, even higher SAT scores.
Wow. So waiting predicted future success, essentially.
That was the initial takeaway, yeah. But, like a lot of landmark research, it's been revisited, hasn't it?
Right. And there's a more recent study, 2018, Watts, Duncan, and Kwan, looked at it again with a much bigger, more diverse group.
Precisely. And their findings, which were discussed in a really interesting commentary by Dobell, Michelson, and Munakata in 2019, offered a more critical look.
Okay, what did this newer study find? Did it hold up?
Well, Watts and his team found that the marshmallow test's predictive power seemed to shrink quite a bit, actually, once they started accounting for other things.
Like what sort of things?
Factors like the child's background, socioeconomic status, their home environment, and also their existing cognitive skills, their behavior patterns.
Okay. So when you factored those in, the marshmallow waiting time itself wasn't as strong a predictor.
Exactly. It led them to suggest that maybe interventions should focus more broadly than just teaching kids to delay gratification. Maybe look at those background factors.
That does sound like a significant challenge to the original idea. Like maybe waiting is just a sign of having other advantages already.
That was one interpretation. But, and this is where that commentary by Dobell and her colleagues comes in, they make a really compelling counter-argument.
Okay, what's a counter?
They basically say, hold on, many of those factors you controlled for things like executive function.
Which are like planning, self-control skills.
Right, exactly. Those, plus verbal ability, understanding social norms, trust, good parenting, these aren't just correlates of delayed gratification. They argue these are the fundamental supports. They're what enable a child to delay in the first place.
Ah, I see. So it's not just background noise, it's the actual machinery that makes delayed gratification possible.
That's the core idea. It's a crucial distinction. If these underlying supports, these covariates, as researchers call them, are what allow you to wait, then statistically removing their effect might actually hide how important delaying gratification really is.
Okay, let me see if I get this. It's like studying exercise and heart health, but statistically removing the effect of eating well. You might underestimate exercise because diet is also key.
That's a great analogy, yeah. By controlling for things like executive function, which you need to resist the marshmallow, you might be downplaying the impact of successfully using those functions to wait.
Right. That makes a lot more sense.
And the commentary points out that these very summit sports, strong executive skills, a trusting environment, good parenting, are also the most likely targets for helping people improve their ability to delay gratification.
So rather than dismissing delayed gratification, we should focus on building the foundations that make it achievable.
Precisely. It paints a much richer picture. It's not just about raw willpower. It's a whole ecosystem.
Okay, fascinating. This really deepens the understanding. Now let's shift gears a bit. The Duden study. This sounds incredible, following over 1,000 people for decades.
It's a monumental piece of research, truly. Started in Dunedin, New Zealand, and its long-term view is incredibly valuable for this topic.
What's the big takeaway regarding self-control from Dunedin?
Well, one of the key findings is that childhood self-control, which is obviously closely related to delaying gratification, is a really powerful predictor of adult success across a huge range of areas.
Even after considering things like IQ or social class?
Yes, independent of IQ and social class origin, it really stands out.
Wow. How did they even measure self-control in kids over that long period? It wasn't just one test, right?
No, definitely not. It was comprehensive. They used multiple methods, observations by researchers, questionnaires filled out by teachers and parents, even interviews with the kids themselves as they got older, all gathered between ages 3 and 11.
So multiple viewpoints, multiple times.
Exactly. And because these different measures tended to agree, they could create a really robust overall score for childhood self-control.
And what kind of adult outcomes did this childhood self-control score predict decades later?
The results are quite stark, actually. Low childhood self-control predicted poor physical health in adulthood, things like higher rates of obesity, high blood pressure, lung problems, gum disease, high cholesterol.
A whole suite of health issues.
Yes. And also a higher risk of substance dependence, more financial problems like lower income, trouble saving, credit issues, relying on welfare longer.
It goes beyond health then.
Oh, yes. Higher rates of criminal convictions, too, and even difficulties with parenting their own children later on.
That is an incredibly wide net of influence. It really drives home how fundamental that early self-regulation piece seems to be.
It really does. The effects seem to ripple out across so many different parts of life.
And they did another study to double-check this, the twin study.
Right, the E-Risk twin study in the UK. Studying twins is clever because you can compare siblings, often fraternal twins who share about half their genes but grow up in the same family environment. It helps isolate the effect of self-control itself.
By comparing the twin with higher self-control to the one with lower self-control within the same family.
Exactly. And what did they find? Even within the same family, the twin with lower self-control at age 5 was more likely to run into problems by age 12.
What kind of problems?
Things like starting smoking earlier, doing worse academically, showing more antisocial behaviors.
Interesting.
And teachers reported needing to put more effort into managing the twin with lower self-control in the classroom.
So even with a shared background, those early differences mattered. It really points to the importance of fostering these skills, which brings up the big question, is this stuff fixed? Or can self-control actually change?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And thankfully, the Dunedin study offers some hope there.
Oh, good. What did they find?
Their data suggests self-control can change a person's life. One interesting example they noted was people who moved into supervisory roles at work.
What happened with them?
They tended to show increases in self-control over time.
That is fascinating. Maybe the job demands sort of exercise that muscle.
That's a plausible idea. And other research, like from Brent Roberts, suggests self-control isn't nearly as fixed as something like IQ, maybe only about half as stable. So there seems to be room for change, for growth.
Okay, so it's malleable how? Walter Mitchell, back to him, talked about hot versus cool thinking in his book, right?
Yes, exactly. That's a key concept in his later work. He talks about these two systems in our minds.
The impulsive versus the rational.
Sort of. The hot system is immediate, emotional, impulsive. It sees the treat, it wants the treat now. The cool system is more cognitive, reflective, strategic. It thinks about consequences. It uses strategies to manage those hot impulses.
And we can strengthen the cool system.
Mitchell argues yes, absolutely. A key technique is what he called cognitive reappraisal. Basically changing how you think about the tempting thing.
Okay, so instead of, gooey marshmallow, you think?
You might think those are just puffy white clouds, or focus on the reward you'll get later, or think about your long-term health goal. You reframe the hot stimulus into something cooler, less tempting.
Shifting your mental focus.
Exactly. And another powerful strategy he mentions, which also connects to work like Rick Hanson's, is actively connecting with your future self.
How does thinking about future me help present me resist temptation?
By making the future consequences feel more real, more vivid, more emotionally relevant now,
Yeah.
if you can really imagine, really feel the benefits of achieving that long-term goal or the downsides of giving in impulsively, it strengthens your resolve in the moment.
Like building empathy for the person I'm going to be.
That's a great way to put it. It's almost like doing a favor for your future self. Recognizing that connection can motivate better choices today.
I like that framing. Okay, what about willpower itself? Is it like a muscle that gets tired, a limited resource? Or is that idea outdated?
Well, Michel pushes back against the strictly limited resource idea. He points to examples like Navy SEAL training and also Carol Dweck's research on mindset.
Dweck's work on growth mindset.
Related to that, yes. Her research suggests that our belief about willpower matters. If you believe exerting mental effort makes you stronger, or that willpower replenishes, you don't show the same depletion effects as someone who believes it's strictly limited.
So mindset plays a huge role. Believing you can resist helps you resist.
It seems so. Strong motivation combined with the right mindset, maybe seeing effort as energizing rather than depleting, can dramatically boost our capacity for self-control. It might not be literally limitless, but perhaps much more expandable than we think.
That's incredibly empowering. Our beliefs shape our capabilities here.
It seems that way. Now, shifting to a more practical, everyday perspective, that Reddit thread on productivity you shared was interesting.
Yeah, seeing how people grapple with this in real life. What stood out?
A key theme was balance. As one user put it really well, don't delay all gratification. Life needs enjoyment too.
Absolutely. It can't be all work and no play forever. That's not sustainable.
Right. And the thread had some good, actionable tips, like starting small. Delay something minor, like checking your phone immediately, to build the habit.
Small wins.
Exactly. Another was finding ways to actually enjoy the process of working towards goals, not just focusing on the distant reward, making the journey itself satisfying.
That's crucial, finding that intrinsic motivation.
Yes. And echoing what we just discussed, consciously building that relationship with your future self. Thinking about what future you would appreciate, maybe through small actions now that have immediate small benefits, but also contribute long-term.
Like tidying up for 5 minutes feels good now, and future you appreciates the clean space.
Perfect example. It reinforces the positive loop.
The thread also mentioned something about societal costs.
Yeah, it touched on the observation that often the segment of the population least inclined towards effortful planning might also be the group incurring higher societal costs, healthcare, welfare, etc., which opens up complex questions about policy.
Like nudges, trying to gently guide behavior.
Exactly. Nudge policies, behavioral economics trying to encourage better choices. And then in some cases where nudges aren't enough, the role of more coercive laws in promoting behaviors deemed necessary for the collective good, which often involves some level of self-control or delayed gratification.
It definitely shows the broader societal relevance. Okay, and just briefly, the donating stuff mentioned biology too. Brain and genes.
It did, yeah. Neuroscience points to the prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO, essentially being critical for those executive functions needed for self-control. Brain scans can show which areas light up when we're resisting temptation.
So there's a physical basis.
Definitely. And genetics plays a role too, as the twin studies suggest. There's a heritable component. But, and this is key, even identical twins aren't always identical in self-control. Environment and experience matter hugely.
So it's that classic nature and nurture interaction.
Exactly. It's complex. Our biology gives us a starting point, but our experiences, our choices, the strategies we learn, they shape how it develops.
Okay, so wrapping this section up, it feels like the journey started with the simple marshmallow test, but the story got much richer, much more nuanced.
That's a perfect summary. The direct predictive power of just that one test has been debated and refined, especially considering background factors. But the bigger picture, the importance of self-control, the ability to delay gratification, and crucially, the cognitive skills and supportive environments that underpin it, that seems incredibly robust.
And the really hopeful part is that it's not set in stone.
Absolutely. The evidence strongly suggests potential for change, for development throughout life.
So the main takeaway is, while understanding it all is complex, developing that ability to look beyond the immediate want seems to offer real, substantial benefits across life.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Which leads nicely to a final thought, maybe, for our listeners to chew on.
Go for it.
Thinking about everything we've discussed, the cool thinking strategies, connecting with your future self, those small steps from the Reddit thread. What's one small thing, one tiny action you might try today? Something to start strengthening those delay muscles, as you put it, to work towards a future you'll thank yourself for.
A powerful question indeed. And as you ponder that, remember this whole world of ideas we explore here at All Sorts Podcast.
Keep exploring.
Please do like, share, and definitely subscribe to All Sorts Podcast on YouTube. Immerse yourself in the visuals, the sounds, revisit past deep dives. Share it with others.
Learning's better together.
It really is. And follow All Sorts Podcasts on X, Instagram, and Threads. Keep the conversation going. Join our community.
We'd love to see you there.
Until our next exploration, stay curious, everyone.